Hey everybody, Kim here with Little Biz Resources, and I am just trying to make sure that I am live. There, it's showing up. Let's just check. Hey everybody, Kim here. And there's some volume there. So we are live. Great. All right, so let's go ahead and for those, oh, hi, Marjorie, you're on. Awesome. Marjorie, if you have any questions or anything, go ahead and pop them in to the chat box as we go along. And then I'm going to go through the little presentation and then I'm going to answer any questions after that. And hopefully I'll remember to tell people as we go. Because I know some people can't see this, like even me, there's like this huge delay for some reason, but technology, gotta love it, right? So 3 obstacles to success. Of course, we're ending 2021 and coming into 2022, and we're always thinking of, okay, our resolutions and everything else, but a lot of times it's not necessarily a resolution we need to address. It's more likely something like we need to evaluate what is blocking us from moving forward. So the first obstacle that I was thinking about this and I'm like, there's 3 really core obstacles we see. One is the niche, right? Niches, whatever. They're either too broad or too narrow. Now I'm guilty of this. I am always way too broad and too much, right? Because I want to do so much and tell everybody so many different things and I got so much information packed in my brain. But really it comes down to what can I provide to people that lets them also find me, right? That's an important element of that because if I can't get found, it's pointless for me to create the content. And that's something that we have faced over and over and over again is that we create the content and then by the time we start to get people in front of that content, it's either too old or it's changed enough that people are like, well, I don't like this content because of course it's free. And we only, we provide plenty of great information in our free content. It's just by the time people watch it, it's a lot of times expired. So for us, for me personally, I'm like, okay, I need to stop being so broad and trying to target so many different people because I have a passion. I want people to make money. I make money multiple ways. And I'm like, hey, if I can get people doing the same thing, then their life will be better, right? But if I can't get in front of them, it's not helpful. The other problem is too narrow. Right. And again, these obstacles, this obstacle in particular contributes to the other obstacles. And we'll talk more about that. But if you're too broad, you've got too much competition. You're difficult to find and it's difficult for you to find a core audience. OK, so that's if you're too broad. Now, if you're too narrow, there's not enough people looking for the topic usually. And it's difficult to find any audience. Right. So if you write you write a post on why do people stare at walls and nobody's looking for that, then it's kind of pointless to write that content, right? And if you're doing e-commerce, is the same thing, right? If you're promoting a product that's too broad or too much competition or it's just too difficult to find, I find this in selling on Amazon, right? If you're selling on Amazon and you're selling ornaments and it's general, oh my gosh, it is way too competitive. Nobody's going to find you. You're not going to find an audience because people aren't looking for ornaments. So instead, I narrow that down, right? And a perfect example of this, I talk about this all the time, was back when, and this is probably back in like 2013, 2014, I was doing my keyword research on Amazon and I was going through like my different selections and I'm going, I want to do some sort of profession ornaments. And I came across pharmacy ornaments. Now, at the time, of course, this isn't the case now, but at the time, there were a grand total of 27 listings on Amazon. Okay, so that would be 3 pages. Then I hopped over to my keyword research and looked at the number of people looking for pharmacy ornaments, and it was through the roof. I mean, it was just absurd. So I created, and this was, of course, at Christmas time I was looking. So for the next Christmas, I created pharmacy ornaments, and I put them on Amazon. And we sold a ton of them. I mean, a ton of them. It was probably my best seller that year. Now, since then, a lot more competition has come in. I've kind of cut back on Amazon and everything. So it's been, it's changed. But the point is that if you can find something where there's a high demand and not a lot of competition, and you can marry that, you're going to have a lot more success than finding just going, oh, I'm trying to target everybody or I have too broad of a niche, right? Now, in both cases, it makes it very difficult to get your information, your products, your services in front of people likely to want your content, your products, whatever it is. And that's why you need to look at it. So What are the solutions? Test, right? I mean, if you're creating a product from scratch like I am, it's a lot harder to test. And this, of course, leads back to some of our next challenges, but you need to test. You might have to, for me, if I'm doing my ornaments and I'm creating them, then I might have to create, 10 different ornaments. And, I do my research and I say, okay, hey, I've got these 10 different designs that I've decided I'm going to try out. I design them, I cut them in small quantities, and I put them on Amazon and I see what works, right? That's kind of what we've done in the past. So we kind of got a little ambitious after the pharmacy ornaments and thought, I got cocky and said, these will be great. And sometimes I just can never make it onto page 1. So thankfully I have completely different strategies now, but you need to test, right? So if you're doing content, you can't just throw one out there and hope that it sticks and say, oh my gosh, I have the most amazing content. This one piece of content is going to find people. It doesn't work that way, right? Especially if you're relying on SEO or you're relying on Pinterest or Facebook or any of these, you have to test, and then you need to give yourself enough time for results, right? I mean, I run into this a lot where I put something on Pinterest and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't get any momentum. And Pinterest has changed a lot, right? So now it's almost like SEO where you have to give yourself 6 months to find out if something's working, which means you're just testing for 6 months and hoping that something will stick. But that goes to number 3. If you analyze your competition and the demand and you do your research, you can narrow that testing down and be more likely to improve your odds of success, right? So that goes on to number 2. The second challenge or obstacle is time, right? And there's 2 elements of that. One is not giving yourself enough time, as in you think that you put something up there and it should have results in like 3 minutes. And then the second part of that is not having enough time. And this one's always a problem, right? So when we look at things and we say, hey, I want to do something, losing weight is a perfect example of this, right? Yes, there are some people who can lose some weight up front and they get really good results, and people look at that and they go, oh, wow, you lost X amount in a month. I should do the same. That's not the way it works, right? Everybody's different. It's the same thing with content, same thing with products. So it's the same thing across the board. Everything is different, and there's so many variables that you have to give yourself enough time to get results. And then you have to be able to analyze the results and adapt, right? So then the second part, not having enough time, this one's always a problem. So let's look at some solutions. First one, you think this, I have a huge long list of solutions. There's actually very simple ones here, right? Manage your expectations. That's the biggest one. Understand that if somebody else can do it, they might be faster and better at it, and it might take you a little bit longer. But that doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you need to manage your expectations. And so understanding that, and this one, I kind of taught myself this one a while ago as I saw some patterns. So in the past, I'm notorious for buying programs, and then I would get started on them, and then I would be upset because all these people would be having success and I wasn't, and I didn't understand. And then as I started listening to the success stories from people, and this isn't like from everybody, but the ones that they would like highlight, and people would say, they'd ask them questions, what's your background and everything. I started realizing that a lot of these people already had networks in place, right? They had a network of people. They had, 20,000 followers on Instagram or something. They had something in place already. They already had an audience, and they were just creating a product and giving it to their audience. And I'm like, wait a second. So I don't have an audience. So I am not at the same level as them. So why am I comparing myself to them? Right. And so then I was able to start managing my expectations. And that's the same thing that goes back to, we talked about your niche or your niche, right? If you are unsure if you're too broad or too narrow, which again, testing is going to do that, you need to understand that until you start getting results, you are not going to be able to determine how long it's going to take you. Right? So if you say, I'm going to create 10 pieces of content, or I'm going to create 10 products and put it out there, and nothing happens for a month, and you happen to have Christmas ornaments and you're in July, then you need to manage those expectations, right? Now, I do sell ornaments year round, for the record, but I know that I have a heavy market at Christmas time. So, and that's a very narrow window. I have about 6 weeks where I have a peak shopping time, and the problem is I have to get in front of them to be able to test it. But then during those 6 weeks, and that's the most competitive time of the year, right? So there's a lot riding on what I do and how I do it. And so I'm like, it's kind of fun though. But I manage my expectations and I go, just because I list it in April, I don't expect to have any data for a year, right? I already know that because I understand my product and the demand and my competition. So, and just because it fails, and we've talked about this, last week we talked about this on getting on multiple platforms, right? I now know that Amazon is so competitive that it is in my best interest to be on as many platforms as possible. So that's one of my goals for next year, right? Is to get on different platforms and test them. And because I understand this, I can manage my expectations better. Now, I think the challenge we come into, and you'll notice that none of these talk about money, but the challenge we come into is that it's not that we expect it, but we need it. And so we need to separate out what we think we need from our expectations of what the results are. Okay, so that's part of managing expectations. Now, the second part of that is schedules, planning, and of course, partnerships. So if you can schedule out content, if you can plan, you plan out your content, and you can, for example, if you want to front load let's say you're doing blog posts or you're doing Pinterest pins, you can schedule it with a scheduler. Unless you're doing idea pins, then you can't. But then the other thing is partnerships, right? You can partner with other people. This is really big in influencer. Of course, usually you're paying for that now, but ideally you can do like different partnerships and stuff like that too, to help with managing that load. All right. So technology, and I should go back for a second. When I say partnerships with like influencers, that's for more marketing. And you can also have partnerships with other people that help manage the other part of it as well, right? So you can have different kinds of partnerships all along there. All right, so let's talk about technology. So this is the third major obstacle that I see in our group and with others, right? And technology tends to be a hurdle for many. I personally don't have that challenge because I'm not scared of technology. But I will say that the easiest of platforms technically cannot do everything you want or need done. And I see this all the time with products that are affiliate products. I promote them myself, right? I'm like, okay, there are people out there that need easy stuff, so let's give this to them, even though I know it's not the solution that they need. But the solution that they need is somewhere between easy and hard, and it doesn't exist. Right? You've got either easy solutions because people are like, oh, that's easy, I'm going to buy it. Or you've got harder solutions because people are like, well, I want the customization. And so your easy ones don't do anything or don't have that full functionality, and you're extremely limited. And then the harder solutions, they take a lot of time to learn, right? And that goes back to number 2, right? Time again. So, and then again, we've got not all technology integrates. I cannot tell you how many times I've tried to integrate email marketing with various solutions. I literally have to have, now I think I'm narrowed down to 2 platforms, but I've had like 3 or 4 of them in the past simply because the integrations didn't exist, right? And I'm hoping to get down to 1 eventually, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that, but we'll see. So the solutions for this, again, give yourself enough time to learn a platform, program, etc., right? We go back to the number 2, these all kind of interlink, right? Give yourself enough time for testing, give yourself enough time to learn, give yourself enough time to implement, to get results. Then the second part of that, use solutions that integrate or offer options. And this goes back, we've been talking about Groove. And Groove is one that is free to get started. There are no monthly costs at all when you first get started. If you want to go past the free level, then you can look at paid options. But you can get started completely free. They have mail and they have email in there. They've got funnels, they've got e-commerce, they've got all of this stuff is already built into their platform. Now, are they the best solution? I don't know. You'd have to look and see. But it is a solution that is out there that can take away some of the technology issues. You're never going to eliminate all of the technology issues. It's just the way it is. I mean, let's see what crashed the other day. Wasn't it like Amazon and Netflix and Disney and all of these, some Amazon servers went offline and it affected like a ton of different streaming things and various websites and government entities, etc. And this is what, piggybacking right off of Facebook being down a couple times, and there was another shutdown on some other ones. So technology is always going to have challenges. That's just one of the things that we have to understand. But if you can use solutions that minimize the amount of time and the amount of resources you have to put into it, that's going to help. Now, if you have a favorite resource, then you look for solutions that integrate with that. I know a lot of people come in, they go, well, why aren't you using MailChimp? I used MailChimp, right? I used MailChimp back when MailChimp allowed like pretty much everybody on their platform. Then MailChimp changed. And so I did two things. I had e-commerce and affiliate marketing that were my primary methods of making money. And they didn't like affiliate marketing, so that kind of forced me to another solution. And on e-commerce, they stopped integrating with the solutions that I needed. And so people go, well, MailChimp is everywhere. Yes, and supposedly they take on everything. But if you read their terms carefully, you will see that they don't like affiliate marketing and that they don't actually integrate well with much. And they don't offer a lot on their lower tiers. So you have to start paying more and more and more. And then I'm going, wait, their deliverability is lower for me. Other people are perfectly fine. But for me, I'm like, hey, this doesn't work. But let's say I am using MailChimp, because a lot of you guys like MailChimp. Then I need to find solutions that integrate with MailChimp, right? And that's when I would say, okay, if I'm looking for a shopping platform, shopping cart platform, or maybe I'm working with affiliate marketing or whatever it is, look for those things that integrate with MailChimp, so that way I could use that resource, right? And that will minimize, I can do a little bit of research, find those resources in advance, look through the ones that are going to fit. I mean, places like MailChimp and Aweber and ActiveCampaign and something with G. Why can't I think of that one? GetResponse. I knew it was Get something. I was like, Get Mail? No, that's wrong. So GetResponse. These are all big ones, right? These are all huge. I use Mailvio, and Mailvio integrate, they can sync with Zapier, and Zapier goes with tons of stuff, right? Or I actually use Integrately instead of Zapier because it's cheaper. And it actually works just fine. And it has different solutions. So you look at these and then you go, okay, well, you might have to pay a little bit more for integrations, but that's going to take off the technology burden, right? Then the last option is you can hire people, right? You can go to Fiverr, you can go to lots of different places, and you can hire people. All right, so that's it. Those are the 3 obstacles I want to talk about. I want to keep this a little bit shorter and see if there's any questions. I see the number of viewers keep popping in and out. So if there's anybody on right now that has questions, it is open Q&A time. And I'm going to kind of ramble until stuff comes in, I guess, because of the delay. Okay, so I'm looking at my phone, thankfully. And then now it just popped up. That's funny. That's a big delay. Sorry, the Marjorie put a comment in and it came on my phone, and then I looked up and was watching my monitor, and it took a while to come in on my monitor. So good thing I pulled my phone up. So she says, I find follow through and what interrupts that to be a place to start looking at why not doing what I need to be doing. Yeah, so I'm going to tell you guys that there's a lot of things that can interrupt what your flow, right? Like, I had to abruptly move, and now I've got a lot of personal stuff going on, and I haven't been making videos because of that, because I've had a really tough time getting my head in the right place and getting my, life in the right place. And it's really, really, really distracting, and it makes it really difficult, but you just keep plugging along, right? You regroup, you go back and you say, okay, what challenges am I facing? What can I do to overcome those challenges? What can I do? Where can I put my focus? Maybe if you have, like for me, I was really aggressive in trying to do a video a day, and then life turned upside down on me. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get back to a video a day, but that might not be for another week, another 2 weeks, right? It might take a little bit of time before I get to that. And unfortunately, that's tough for the people that are following me, but we have to do what's best for us at the point. Especially right now, I have 79 followers or something on YouTube. I mean, hopefully those 79 followers, and a lot of those followers were from like 2 years ago. And so I'm like, well, I'm not reaching a lot of people yet. So I'm just going to keep pushing out content as I can. And, I have to stop, look at my planning and my scheduling. I have to kind of regroup on that. And it's the same thing. If you're having technology issues and you have a favorite tool, maybe you go, okay, well, maybe I need to switch my tool because it doesn't integrate with anything. And, like Mailvio is wonderful for email marketing. The problem is it doesn't integrate with a lot of stuff. So that's why I looked for an option. And then I figured out that, I can use Integrately, and I can now integrate with a lot of different things. And that made it so much easier for me, right? So now I can still use my favorite tool, and I can still integrate with the other resources. But it does cost me a little bit more money than if I were going, well, I should say theoretically, it costs me a little bit more money. It actually costs me less still to have Integrately and Mailvio than it does because I can get like 50,000. I have like 50,000 contact capability, right? So if I had a 50,000 contact capability on, say, MailChimp or Aweber or any of these others, it would cost me way more money than it is right now. So, yeah. But I know it's coming up to the holidays. It is, I want to tell you guys one of the challenges. I don't know if if they did it yet. But on Amazon, which we're going to, I need to do it in incognito mode. I am doing seller fulfilled. So we're going to go to Amazon. I'm going to show you something that they do, maybe, if they're doing it this year. They did this last year. Okay, we're going to do Celtic ornaments. I am seller fulfilled. So let's see if I can find me. Here I am right here. So you see this right here. Get it December 14th through 15th. What is today? The 9th. That's actually really good. So they haven't done it yet. So what they typically do is, last year what they did is they extended their range. So it was like 2 weeks, right? It was like 2 weeks long. And so this year doesn't look like they're doing that. And maybe it's because they got in trouble for doing it last year. But they basically, anybody who was seller fulfilled, they extended the range out. So it would say December 14th to like January 14th, right? And the year before that was during the pandemic. And it was like, they pretty much killed my business because they did this. And it wasn't just seller fulfilled. They did this to Prime as well, where they prioritized all the different products and stuff, even though they had nothing in stock. So I had no idea what the heck they were supposedly selling that was causing so much to make it so that my products could not be sold. They gave it I think it was a 2-month range to 3-month range. Right. So they're like, if you bought this product, it would be 2 months to 3 months before you got it. And that was Prime. So I actually shut off all my Prime and turned it to merchant fulfilled and made sales that way. I was like, well, I have both stock in 2 different places. So I was like, fine, you can keep mine there. And I think they still charge me for inventory though, but whatever. But what they would do is they put this range really far out at Christmas time last year. Just because they were trying to push people to the Prime. There was no reason to do it. But this one, it looks like it's still okay. But at some point, they may do that again. It's only the 9th. So when it gets closer, they're going to say, sorry, well, this won't arrive by Christmas. And all of a sudden, my sales will just stop because they are pushing everybody to Prime. So that's one of those challenges that you're like, well, if I can anticipate that, I can, either make sure I have product in for Prime, or I just know that and again, sell on multiple marketplaces. Make sure that you have your own cart somewhere. And which of course, once we open our e-commerce marketplace in January for beta users, I should say, then if you don't have a website or your website isn't working for you, you could always use ours as a hub for now. And that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to get it so it's a main hub so it'll integrate with other places, but that's a ways out. So for now, it will at least be a place that you can point people, and it'll be your shop, no ads on it, etc. And yeah. So I don't see any other questions. And Marjorie, I do appreciate you coming on every week. One of these days, I'm going to get Zoom to integrate. I found the instructions on it, and then my computer had to restart. So now I got to go through my history and find the link again. Technology, right? Let's go back to that one. Well, Marjorie, you are definitely on I'm contacting you to reach out for that. But yeah, that's a good question. How do we sign up to be a beta user for that? Let me check. I may have set this up already. So let me check real quick. I'm on another screen. That's why you can't see what I'm doing. I'm logging into Mailvio real quick and to see if I think I created a sign up form for it. And I can plug that into the description when we're done. And in the comments right now, as soon as I double check to see if I have the sign up form for it. No, I did not do it. Why did I not do it? Okay, I will post the sign up form and actually email it out to people today. So let me make that note. Sign up form for beta. So Marjorie asked, how's the interview process going for you to teach? Oh, so for those who don't know, I went in with my turmoil of life. I went in to look for, a job teaching online to just kind of help stabilize everything. And I did get a job, Marjorie, teaching for Southern New Hampshire University. It looks like a really cool school, and I'm excited about it. I don't start till like January, but it's an amazing school. And like, they have a lot of different educational options. So if I were a student, I'd be very eager to look at the school because they're also capping the price of it. And it's just phenomenal that they have the resources that they have, and it looks like they've got a lot of students. They're growing really fast. It's an online. They have a physical portion, but it's mostly online. So yes, Marjorie, I appreciate your help with that. And that will be a ton of fun. I really love educating. I love the education part of it. Like, so for me, for those who don't know, I have a PhD and I like formal education, and it helped me learn and get the confidence to be able to do the things that I do now. And I think it's the hardest part was just giving myself enough time and scheduling time, right? The same obstacles in here, technology, etc. These are all the same obstacles. Now, I wouldn't say niche because I hopped around, right? So my undergraduate's in anthropology, which has nothing to do with anything that I do. And then my path went to emergency management, criminal justice, and then business. And I was like, criminal justice was more for fun. And then I realized I really wasn't into that. But the emergency management is what taught me. I was working in emergency management, working with people who had disasters, lost everything. And that's what taught me that, we have to get people earlier on. So that's why I still love the education part of it, and I don't want to lose that. So I was really excited to get back into that and then also keep doing what I'm doing. So just going to tighten up the belt and make sure I get schedules done as soon as I finish getting organized and everything. But yeah, it's going to be 2022 is going to be interesting, I think. For those of you who are doing stuff online, it's crazy the amount of stuff that is shifting. I mean, there's articles galore. I mean, if you look at people that are, mass exodus from employment, why? Because there's a shift to people being entrepreneurs. Why? Because they don't want to have to either stick, there's some people don't want to be on the online environment. They want to get back into the world, and their companies aren't doing that. And others don't want to get back into the world and they want to be online. It's like, you'd think there'd be people that could match that. Supposedly there are. I just don't know them. But anyway, so yep, that's what we've been up to. And Christy and I are still working on the marketplace. It's a lot of work, I'm going to tell you. I had meetings with people and just trying to see what the capability is, and then just sifting through the documentation to get all set up is a lot of work. So like I said, I'm still aiming sometime in January, earlier, hopefully, for beta users, and then we'll give that a couple months, and then we'll start opening it up to, paid subscriptions and stuff after that. So, yeah, we'll get that. I will get that posted here, and then I'm going to email it out as well. So I'm going to say email and post link to, I wrote the second part, not the first part. Okay, there we go. Written down. All right, so if we don't have any other questions, if you guys do, if somebody's coming on watching this on the replay, you can just hop into the Facebook group, which I put that in the description. You can, of course, come next Thursday. You can post it here on the, or whatever video you watch. I still come in and monitor it and everything. So not limited, but yeah, if that's it, let's go ahead and end this for today. Then Marjorie, I appreciate you coming on. Anybody else that came on, I appreciate that as well. And I will see you guys all next week and get a couple of videos out during the week.